You know, it doesn't matter. Christmas Day, that's my birthday. Rain, hail, shine, I'm out there doing it.
At this school, they even watch BTN.
Hi, I'm Nathan, and welcome to BTN.
We're officially BTN's biggest overseas fans. Each and every Friday, we watch BTN rain, hail, or shine, and we just love it.
So that's another thing you have to deal with. Hardships is always filmmaking sort of happens, rain, hail, or shine most of the time. Maybe not hail, but if it's in rain, they always have wet weather gear, and you shoot through rain if you can. Unless it's like a huge budget, then they can schedule a lot more days.
G'day guys, and welcome to Aussie English. My objective here is to teach you guys the English spoken down under. So whether you want to speak like a fair income Aussie, or you just want to understand what the flippin' hell we're on about when we're having a yarn, you've come to the right place. So sit back, grab a cuppa, and enjoy Aussie English. Man, it's been a long day. It has been a long day, and it's only 1:20 p.m. when I'm recording this. G'day guys, welcome to this episode of Aussie English. I am your host, Pete, and it is always my pleasure to present you with today's expression episode. So welcome guys. If you're a first-time listener, it's great to have you here. I'm glad you found the place. Sit back, relax, grab a cuppa and enjoy the episode. And if you are a long-time listener, man, thank you. You're a ripper. Cheers. So anyway, it's been a long day because I have just gotten back from running into Geelong, although not literally running, driving into Geelong. It's about a 30-kilometre drive, so it'd be a bit of a walk or a jog. But I ran in, as in I went in quickly, in order to get some new shoes. I don't know what happened, but like the part below my heel in my shoes collapsed. I don't know. They just busted. They carked it, right? They cactus. They died. So I had to buy some new ones. So I went in, and one of those, things happens where you go in planning to get one thing and you end up coming back with a shitload of other things. Excuse my language. I came back with a heap of other things. So what did I get? I got a toaster because Kel broke the other one that we had. Well, she didn't break it. It broke. But she was the only person who used it. So I blame her. I also got some sheets for the bed, some nicer sheets that we needed, and I bought Kel a dryer, right? It's been a long time. It's probably been 2 years since we've been in this house now, and we haven't had a dryer. We've just been using the sun in order to dry our clothes on the line. But the backlog of washing that needs to be done is starting to get to a point where it is unbearable because we all go through a lot of clothing, especially Noah. So I bought a dryer. I lashed out on a dryer, which is going to be arriving on Monday. So that should be fun. One thing to announce for you guys that we found out only a few days ago that you would have seen if you were on my Instagram page, if you'd seen the stories, is that we found out the gender of our baby. So what happened is, even though Kel's, I think, only 12 weeks pregnant at the moment, she had a blood sample taken. And what happens is the baby's blood, I think maybe genetic material somehow gets from the placenta into the mother's blood, and so they can determine the sex of the baby by doing an analysis of the chromosomes in the blood to see if there is any presence of Y chromosomes, right? The male chromosome. So because there was 0, means we've got a girl. So there you go. And we already know the name. I might as well tell you. It's going to be Joanna or Joanna. So this is because Kel's best friend is named Joanna, and they grew up together in Brazil, and my mother is named Joanne. So there you go, Joanna. This podcast is being recorded 6 months before you're going to be born. But yeah, welcome to the world. Anyway, we should probably dive into today's content, guys. All right, so let's get into the joke. All right, here's the joke. Are you ready? Brace yourselves. It's going to be a pisser. All right, it's going to be really funny, a total pisser. What did one raindrop say to the other? What did one raindrop say to the other? All right, are you ready? 2's company, 3's a cloud. Oh my God. I write these jokes down and then I kind of forget which ones I've gotten. And so when I actually read them out for you guys, I get to sort of giggle again because I don't actually read ahead. So I'll explain the joke for you. What did one raindrop, right? A drop of rain, obviously, a bit of water, a drop of water falling out of the sky when it's raining, a raindrop. What did one raindrop say to the other raindrop? Two's company, and three's a cloud. So the pun here is on the word cloud, which in that expression, two's company, three is a crowd, right? As in a large group. So you might hear this from time to time when people are talking about wanting to be in an intimate setting with one person, especially if they're romantically interested in this person. So when Kel and I were dating, if my old housemate Richard decided to come out with a date or on a date with Kel and I on a date, we might have said to him, look, sorry, two's company, me and Kel are company, but three is a crowd, so you're not invited. Okay, so the joke here is that what did one raindrop say to the other? Two's company, the two raindrops are company, but a third one would make it a cloud, right? As in a cloud in the sky full of raindrops. There you go, there's the joke. All right, so you may have realized that the joke is about rain and it is related to today's expression, which is rain, hail, or shine. Rain, hail, or shine. Let's go through these different words, right? And they are all verbs. Although I guess rain and hail could also be nouns, but shine is a verb, and to rain, to hail are also verbs. Rain is when moisture condenses in the atmosphere and it falls visibly in separate drops, right? In raindrops. That is when it rains. That is rain. Hail. Now, hail is pellets of frozen rain which fall in showers from cumulonimbus clouds, that is storm clouds. So you can't just have hail form in any old cloud or for any old cloud to hail, it has to be in storm clouds. And the last verb here is to shine. To shine, this is something that the sun does, right? Or that another source of light might do, or even something reflecting light. It can shine, which is to give out a bright light or to reflect a bright light, okay? So rain, hail, or shine. How do we use this expression? We use this expression to say that something is going to happen whether it rains, hails, or shines, right? Whether the sun's out. So that is sort of the literal context of this expression, we'll go through the example shortly, but the figurative example or the figurative meaning of this expression would be that something is going to happen no matter what, right? No matter what the conditions are. Rain, hail, or shine, that thing is going to happen. Whether literally it's going to rain, hail, or shine, or figuratively, any kind of bad conditions could happen, it's still going to happen, right? That thing will still happen. Anyway, let's get into some examples so that you can wrap your heads around how to use this expression rain, hail, or shine, okay? Example number 1. So imagine that you're a young kid who loves sports. Maybe you're a young girl who's a huge fan of playing sports like netball, cricket, hockey, or even AFL footy. The women's league is now becoming a bigger and bigger thing as the years pass. So when the weather's really good, you're always begging your folks to take you out to the local oval, right? The oval down the street, so that you can get your sports gear out, you can play with your friends, you can sharpen your skills, whether you're playing cricket, AFL, whatever the sport is. So you're so obsessed that even on days when the weather's not too great, when it's spitting, or it's even pissing down rain, right? It's raining cats and dogs. When it's hailing, when it's snowing, or when it's really hot and the sun's out, you still want to go and practice your sports. So in that case, you want to play sports, rain, hail, or shine. You want to practice whether it's raining, whether it's hailing, whether it's shining. So you don't care about the conditions, good or bad, you want to go and practice. Example number 2. You're a workaholic who loves your job. Right, so you work for your dream company. Maybe you are a software engineer at a company like YouTube or Google, writing code for the latest, most advanced algorithms. So you love your job so much that no matter what the circumstances are going on in your life, maybe you get sick, maybe you get injured, maybe someone in your family dies, maybe your dog dies, bad things happen. No matter what the situation is, though, you're so obsessed with your work that you still go to work and you put in overtime. You work really hard when, your colleagues might say, stop putting in all the hard yakka and go home, relax, take some time off. But you say, no, I come to work, rain, hail, or shine. No matter what, rain, hail, or shine, I come to work. So it's not literally raining, hailing, or shining. It is just whatever the conditions are, good or bad, I come to work. So example number 3. Now this was a good one. So there's a great example that came to mind when I was writing this episode from the TV show Futurama. I wonder if you guys have seen this TV show, right? The main character's name is Fry, and in the year 2000, he works for a pizza shop and he's delivering a pizza to a science lab, and he falls into a cryo chamber, gets frozen, and when he wakes up, it's the year 3000. Anyway, in one of the episodes about his life back in the year 2000, and before that, they show how he finds a dog and befriends it. So the dog and Fry become best mates. They're always hanging out together, having a great time, though Fry never knew what happened to his dog after he woke up in the year 3000 in his cryo chamber and, gets out. So at the end of this episode, they show that the dog was waiting outside the pizza shop where Fry used to work, and he would go there every single day waiting for Fry to appear after Fry had disappeared. So in the show, the seasons were changing, the days were changing, it was raining, it was windy, the sun was out, there was snow, the weeks passed, the seasons changed, and the dog was always sitting in front of the store waiting for Fry. It's a pretty tear-jerking moment at the end of this episode, because you think about for how long that dog kept going back waiting for his best mate, and that he never got to see him or be reunited with him ever again. So he was there, the dog was there at the shop, rain, hail, or shine, waiting for Fry. And if you want to go and check this episode out, or just this clip, the episode is called Jurassic Bark. So I think it's episode 2 of season 5 of Futurama. And the ending of the episode is actually up on YouTube. And you just need to search Jurassic Bark ending.
It doesn't matter. Christmas Day, that's my birthday. Rain, hail, shine, I'm out there doing it.
At this school, they even watch BTN.
Hi, I'm Nathan, and welcome to BTN.
We're officially BTN's biggest overseas fans. Each and every Friday, we watch BTN rain, hail, or shine, and we just love it.
So that's another thing you have to deal with. Hardships is always filmmaking sort of happens, rain, hail, or shine most of the time. Maybe not hail, but if it's in rain, they always have wet weather here, and you shoot through rain if you can. Unless it's like a huge budget, then they can schedule a lot more days.
Anyway, guys, that's the expression rain, hail, or shine. So it can be used literally to say that you will do something no matter whether it rains, it hails, or the sun is shining. Rain, hail, or shine, I will do that thing. But it's also used figuratively to mean that you'll do that thing no matter what the conditions, no matter how bad they get or how good they get, you're going to go and do that thing. So as usual, let's go through a little listen and repeat exercise, guys, where you can practice your pronunciation. Okay, so listen and repeat after me. Rain. Rain, hail. Rain, hail, or. Rain, hail, or shine. 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 I'd be there, rain, hail, or shine. You'd be there, rain, hail, or shine. He'd be there, rain, hail, or shine. She'd be there, rain, hail, or shine. We'd be there, rain, hail, or shine. They'd be there, rain, hail, or shine. It'd be there, rain, hail, or shine. Great work, guys. Now, there's a few interesting things happening there pronunciation-wise. You may have noticed that in the phrase rain, hail, or shine, we're linking the L to the start of the word or. So you'll hear rain, hail, or. Rain, hail, or. Rain, hail, or shine. And you might also notice that the R in or isn't pronounced, and that is because it's followed by a consonant sound, not a vowel. So you'll hear rain, hail, or shine. Or shine, no R sound. And the last interesting thing there that's happening in the phrases when we were conjugating I would be there, I'd be there, is that the D that represents would, when it's contracted onto its respective pronouns there, I'd, you'd, he'd, she'd, we'd, they'd, it'd, the D is being muted. It's not being released. It's a stop consonant, but because it's being followed by another consonant, B, or not B, well, the letter B, the consonant B in the word be, because it's being followed by that, it gets muted and doesn't get released, okay? So you'll hear me say, I'd be, you'd be, he'd be, she'd be, we'd be, they'd be, it'd be. So if you want to learn more about Australian pronunciation and those kinds of tips and tricks that are going to sound a lot more natural when you speak English, they're going to make you sound a lot more like a native speaker, keep an eye out for my Australian pronunciation course, which will be out in the next month or so, with a whole lot of new advanced content in there, focusing on these kinds of things. Anyway, before we finish, I thought we could do, instead of an Aussie fact, we could talk about the difference between rain, snow, and hail, and how each of these forms. So let's just get into it. Each of these things is precipitation, and there is a big difference between rain, hail, and snow. Let's go through rain first. So rain is a form of precipitation made up of water droplets. It forms with clouds when enough water vapor has gathered, that is, gas, or water in the form of gas, that it begins to condense into droplets, and when the temperatures aren't low enough that water freezes. So the rain droplets initially stay suspended within the cloud, growing in size, colliding with one another and growing, until they can no longer resist the pull of gravity, and then they fall from the heavens to the earth and often hit you in the face, right? Hit you in the head. Snow. Snow is when the temperature between the ground and the clouds is at or below 0 degrees Celsius, so that the precipitation that falls will freeze and form snow. Okay, but how do snowflakes form? Snowflakes are born, they're created, when water vapor traveling through the air condenses from gas into a solid. It forms a slowly growing crystal, and once the snowflake becomes large enough that the force of gravity overpowers the atmospheric conditions holding it up in the air, it falls to the ground and often creates a layer of snow. Hail. Most of you will have experienced hail in your life, although my wife Kel only first saw hail when she came to Australia. Compared to fluffy, light as a feather snowflakes, hail is very different and can range in size from the size of a pinhead to bigger than a baseball, hence their name, hailstones. So what are they and how do they form? Effectively, they're large pieces of ice, as opposed to water droplets or frozen snow crystals. Hailstones are formed when drops of water form in the atmosphere, but due to the strong updrafts in the atmosphere, usually associated with storms, the hailstones are lifted back into the freezing layer of atmosphere and they continue to grow in size as they either collide with one another or as more water touches the hailstone and freezes. This process continues until the pull of gravity on the ever-growing hailstones becomes stronger than the updrafts, and thus the hailstones fall out of the sky. The stronger the updrafts and wind, the larger the hailstones can grow and the more damage they can cause. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Stay safe and sound, and I'll see you next time. Catch ya! G'day, mate. Thanks for listening to the Aussie English Podcast. If you'd like to boost your English whilst also supporting the podcast and allowing me to continue to bring you awesome content, please consider joining the Aussie English Academy at www.aussieenglish.com.au. You'll get unlimited access to the premium podcast as well as all of my advanced English courses, and you'll also be able to join 3 weekly speaking calls with a real English teacher. Thanks so much, mate, and I'll see you soon. The clips used in today's episode are from the YouTube channels The Feed, Behind the News, and Leap Macquarie University. If you want to check them out, the links will be in the show notes and the transcript.